Hello, my name is Cordelia Kate. If you've been thinking about starting a podcast, but you've been putting it off because it feels complicated, it feels expensive, or it just feels like another massive thing to keep up with, then this session is for you, because most people assume that you need studio quality sound, you need loads of fancy equipment, and you need a whole separate workflow just to get a podcast live. In this video, I'm going to show you how to run the easiest podcast in the world. We're simply going to be turning a video that you've already got, video content that you're already making, into a podcast that people can listen to whilst they're walking, driving. And that's what's great about podcast content, by the way, is that your audience are locked in listening generally, unless you are boring them to death and then they're going to do something else. But they are generally locked in listening more than they would be on any other mode of content. And so it's a really, really cool way to be connecting with your audience. So look, here's what I generally find is that, like I said, people think that they need perfect audio and expensive setups. That's one reason why podcast becomes a nice to have feature. There's also the complicated setup, like it needs to be exported with specific audio settings or it's going to sound distorted. There's this thing called an RSS feed. What? When you think about it, it's going to take a year of consistency for you to start seeing traction. And actually, that's not surprising then. These stats completely blew me away. Check this out. Nearly 47% of all podcasts stop before reaching their third episode. So people go, I'm going to start podcasts, and they get to episode 3, they've already quit, like they've already stopped. It's already become unsustainable. Obviously, there could be a plethora of reasons as to why they stop, but that's mad. And only around 15% of podcasts listed on major platforms are active. There are a lot of people that have gone, I want to start a podcast, and have just not kept up with it. But do you know what that also means? It is easier than ever to make an impact with a podcast. The Rebellious Business Show, we've been running it's been on Spotify for over a year now, maybe 2 years. And I really do not put much attention into it. The main thing we do with the Rebellious Business Show is show up and engage with people live. And then it just gets repurposed to podcast. And when I looked at Spotify Wrapped, I was blown away to see that we have had an increase in 383% in new audience from last year. Our show was in the top 30% of videos on Spotify. Understand this, we do not spend much time. We don't even edit these episodes. They go onto Spotify unedited. I'm going to teach you how to do this today. The Marketing Strategy Show is getting a bit more polished. But this show that I'm using as an example, one that we've been in the charts with this show, and it has been really, really easy to do. We're in the top 5 shows for 11 fans. Like, I know that's small numbers, but guys, there are 11 people that are listening to us consistently. That is worth publishing that for. And these little badges that we got, we're a 2025 marathon show. Fans listened to you for longer than 75% of other shows. Your average rating was higher than 75% of other shows. And you received more comments than 94% of other shows. And you know what? That makes us sound fantastic, doesn't it? But I want to be clear with you. I'm showing you this to let you know the bar is lower than you think it is. It is way lower than you think it is. To get in the charts is not hard. To get stats like that is not difficult. You can totally achieve that without doing much work. And here's the real cool thing. Podcasting is heading towards video. It's always been an audio thing, right? You still think about it and you still associate it with being audio only. And therefore, the audio has mattered, because if you don't have anything to look at, and you're only using your ears to consume the content, you get annoyed by bad audio faster than you would do if you were watching, because if you're watching, you've got another sense that's distracting you. If you want to live stream like I'm doing now, everything is getting compressed and the audio is not perfect quality, as if I was going to custom create this podcast episode using audio recording stuff that made sure that it didn't get compressed and it was high definition. Whereas if you live stream and you're recording at the same time, there is an element of that audio being compressed, and what it does is it reduces the quality of it, because otherwise the video stream would be too heavy for it to work. It would just crash. So it compresses things to make sure that it streams, the quality of the stream is maintained. Now, there are ways around it. You can also record on OBS at the same time. But, you know, that's another program then that I've got open on my computer that could cause the computer to slow down, for instance. So you get to the situation where you're like, well, I need like real state-of-the-art tech to be able to do this well. It's just not the case. Video podcasts are on the rise. Video is now the dominant format, especially on Spotify. And we know this because all we need to do is look at the big podcast creators and how they're creating podcasts now. Go look at Mel Robbins, Joe Rogan, Diary of a CEO, Stephen Bartlett. Their podcasts are not audio only. They are with video. Spotify has video podcasting available on it. YouTube has now taken over Google Podcasts. Google Podcasts is not a thing anymore. If you want to publish a podcast, you do it on YouTube. And so video podcasting is on the rise. There are over 300,000 video podcasts active on Spotify right now. And it is estimated that over 420 million people globally watch video podcasts at least once a month. And YouTube accounts for 81% of all video podcast views worldwide. So it's only going to take YouTube to go, right, this quarter, we are focusing on the podcast area of YouTube, and we're going to really put a lot into that. And video podcasting is going to go even wilder in terms of it being mainstream and popular. My next prediction is live podcasting is already happening, but what we don't have yet is software that has radio slots for a live show to be scheduled, where people can go tune in on YouTube for a live scheduled show. I don't think that is available yet. If it is, it's new and like fresh on the market. That is really exciting for the podcasting world. And the people like me who run live shows, like, yes, this is great. It also means that you can jump in and capitalize on that because you're already creating video content that you can now turn into podcast episodes that can just be another way in which your audience consume content. What we're going to do then is a bit of a tech tutorial on how to edit a video into a podcast episode. We're going to pretend that we have recorded an episode and the episode has been downloaded. When I say recorded an episode, we've recorded a video that we're going to turn into a podcast. I like to use Descript for editing, and there's a very straightforward reason for that. When you export your video and you upload it to a podcast platform, it needs to have very specific audio settings. The audio settings are not available in most video editing softwares. I know with Final Cut Pro and iMovie, the audio settings are just not available. Descript, you can export with the right audio settings, which is great. And it's just such a lovely editing software to use. I recommend getting the paid version, and it is just like $20 a month. You need to set up a Descript account and then open a project. Now, I like to edit all of my podcast episodes in the same project. And the reason being is that I have got an intro and outro music and certain settings with the audio that I only then need to set up once. If I create a new project for every single episode, I'm going to have to set all of that up again, even import the intro and outro music again. So I'm just going to have one project, and then inside the project, you can have compositions. And so I've got a different episode on each composition like that. If we go to episode 1, which was the worst one, because it always is, isn't it? Episode 1, dreadful. Oh, makes me cringe thinking about it, old episode 1. So what I really love, if we upload the video into this project, all we need to do is grab the video and then drop it into the project. So if I go on new composition, it looks like that. And then I just drop the video in there, and then it will take a few seconds, maybe a minute, to transcribe that video. And then it will give us the transcription along with the video. And what's really nice is you can edit with the words. So I can go, kudos, but it isn't a strategy. And I can delete that, and it's going to delete it from the video and the transcript at the same time. I really like that because I can, at the beginning I have intro music sometimes, and I can just go, oh yeah, intro music, da 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 da. Okay, it starts here. Boom, delete all of that. One thing that I am looking for is an interesting first few seconds. And so I'm going to start by going through the video and editing it to just get rid of the waffle at the front. I reduce a lot of waffle. I waffle far too much. This was an hour-long video. I've reduced it down to 20 minutes. That is wild. So I will just go through this and I will listen to it. Number one, I want it to start at an interesting point, because that is going to be the hook for getting people interested in listening to the video. Personally, I hate listening to the first 10, 30, 45, sometimes minute and a half of guff at the beginning of every episode of a podcast. Like, my priority here is I want my audience to consume my content. So if I've got an intro, it's like, oh, I've got to fast forward and skip all of that to get, like, how much do I want to listen to that episode that I am prepared to skip through all the guff? And so I like to just start it from scratch. Now, in terms of this intro and outro music, just to make this super easy, I'm going to show you how we create this. Epidemic Sound is awesome. There is one little trap with Epidemic Sound, is that if you want to use their tracks, you have to be with them forever. If you cancel your subscription with Epidemic Sound, you also lose the copyright licensing. So get your royalty-free music from wherever you want. I've always used Epidemic Sound. I love it. One of the things I really love is the ability to pick stems. And I'm going to just show you now how I get that intro beat into the podcast episode. Now, I want to keep it really simple. I have the intro beat at the beginning and at the end, so that audially, you know, the podcast episode is starting and the podcast episode is finishing. That is important because I do not start with a nice rounded intro and a nice rounded outro. It's literally just the content. And so the beat gives it a bookmark for beginning and end, which I find helpful because you know you're at the beginning and you know you're at the end. Now, this is my song. I've got the instrumental version of it. Yeah. Recognize that? But what I've done is I've gone into the stems and I've turned off everything. That is my opening beat. I'm going to just download that bass stem. So my point of telling you that is when you're listening to music, you may really love a track, but you're like, oh, I don't like the singing. It's too much. Or like the whole thing together, it's too much. So is there a stem that you can grab? And for this, the bass stem was just perfect. If I selected the instruments stem. I love this. It's so much fun. We can bring in the bass. Yeah, I just think it's so much better. It's just so much cleaner without all those other bits. So I'm going to download the specific stem that I want. Is the bass stem. MP3 format is fine. Hit download, and then we're going to upload that into here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new composition. And I've already done this, so I'm just going to show you how to do it, basically. But I'm going to create these audio files so that I can just use them over and over again without having to fade in and fade out every time. So here is the audio file coming in. And I'm probably going to want, let's say you decide to have 6 seconds of intro. Get the blade by hitting B and then cut it there. Press A, gets rid of the blade. I'm going to fade this track out and then export it, and then I'm going to import it, and then I've got one here that I've already made, and you can see it's like this. And what it's going to do is fade. So then that is always the same. It's uniform. You only have to make it once and you never have to make it again. And then I've got one called outro, which is exactly the same, but it gets louder rather than gets quieter. And so what I do is when I edit the podcast, I have a good hook, get out all the fluff, take out any bits that I don't want, and then I add on that intro at the beginning by just searching intro, drag that, pop it up here so it starts on the first word, and there it is. And now it will start like that. Often when I ask people, what is your current marketing strategy? And boom, that's it. That is all I do. That is literally it. Now I'm going to show you a couple of tips with Descript because it's so cool what you can do with it. Number one, I'm quite waffly and I say like all the time. I'm not aware of it until I go to edit a video, and then I realize how much I say all these things. I'm just so trying to stop doing it. So you can come into AI tools, go remove filler words, and you can choose which filler words you want to remove. So I can remove all the ums, I can avoid harsh cuts, but actually the harsh cuts isn't actually a problem because once it's removed them all, you can see where the cuts are. We've got a line here. Let's see what that sounds like. So kudos. That sounds fine. Let's say I'm going to get rid of the word gonna, and I've got a cut here.
Is leveraged and is actually get us results.
That's a bit choppy, right? I don't mind choppy. I think it's cool. I love watching a choppy video. But if you want a smooth transition, you can, especially if it's cut out half the word, you can regenerate the edit. And you click on that, and what it does is it makes that sound so much smoother. Let's listen to how this sounds.
And is actually get us results.
Now, it's a bit ropey because there's a word that I've taken out that makes the sentence sound smooth, which is the word gonna. And without gonna, it doesn't really work. But you kind of get my drift. Also, what I discovered as well is that you can create a voice profile. I often listen back to myself speaking and I've said completely the wrong word. Like I meant to say ChatGPT and I said Descript, for example. And I'm like, oh, damn it, that now makes no sense. I'm going to confuse the listener. And you can literally get it to change the word and do it in your voice. So if I change it to Cordelia 2, this is my AI Cordelia. It's a voice profile that I've set up within Descript. I say, it's really hard to do that. I say, oh, damn it, I was supposed to say it's really easy to do that. I can click on the word hard and I can go regenerate and I can say easy. Here we go.
It's really easy to do that.
Oh my God. Remember that sentence said, it's really hard to do that. Watch my face.
It's really easy to do that.
It says hard. You can see that I'm saying hard, but no one's going to notice that. It's just one slight tweak. And so using the little AI tools is so cool because it enables you to do things. There's other things as well. Like you can add in GIFs and all kinds of stuff straight from within here. So for instance, if we go to media, they've got loads of stock video that you can use. There's also Giphy attached in here, and you can input loads of silly things and you can ask it to find you GIFs. Like you've got this Underlord here and you can say Underlord. I love that it's called Underlord. That is totally my thing. You can say apply zooms and cuts, which is where it sort of like zooms in and zooms out and makes it a bit choppier. You can go find me 5 places in my video where I can add some GIFs that would be for an entertainment factor. There's so much that you can do with it. Now we've got this Underlord in here. I absolutely love this platform for that. So, okay, we're happy with our episode. We're ready to go. What we're going to do is export it. And we're going to export it as video because it is video content. Okay, we're creating video podcasts. So we're going to export it as that. You want to screenshot this now and grab these audio settings. They're going to be inside the downloadable for you inside the school community. So come and get involved in the school community. The link is in the chat. There's the link to the school community. It's $4 a month to come and join us in there. And off the back of every episode, I am creating downloadables for you to follow step by step. So you don't have to come back and watch a video to go through it all, but also you can just see the steps. You can grab my ChatGPT prompts that I use. You can go through all of it in a nice, simple way that will help you implement every strategy off the back of this show. So everything that we go through today will be on a downloadable inside that community. You can come and join us in there, but otherwise grab this. This is what you want to output at. And this is what took me hours. When I first launched the podcast and I was editing all these videos and putting them onto Spotify, it was taking me ages because I couldn't figure out how to get it onto Spotify without the sound being completely distorted. And I realized it was because I was exporting it with the wrong settings. I didn't have those settings available to me in iMovie and I needed to use something else. And so that is literally 10 hours of me going around the houses trying to find that out for you right here. That should hopefully give you a bit of a shortcut. So that's editing the episode. There's so much more I could show you about Descript, but I'm going to keep it simple because really we don't want this to be a big editing job. We want to just put an intro beat on it, an outro beat on it, export it, put it into Spotify, happy days. Now, when I say put it into Spotify, I really like Spotify for creators. You want to go to creators.spotify.com, and all you need is a Spotify account. Now, you can have a free Spotify account. You don't have to have a paid Spotify account, and this software is free to use. You do not need to pay for this. So that's one of the reasons why I use it. But the other reason is because it supports video podcasting. And a lot of the podcast channels haven't done. Haven't looked into it lately because I'm so happy with this. I just use this all the time. However, when it was sending video podcasts through to YouTube, it was sending them through as audio only. So I natively upload to YouTube because I want to custom create a lot of stuff on YouTube for YouTube. It's a whole different strategy. So I'm not using this to push to YouTube for the marketing strategy show, which isn't on Spotify yet. It is launching in January on Spotify. We're just getting the drafts in here and getting it set up and ready to go, because it's a good idea to launch with at least 3 episodes published so that you've got a bit of binge listening available to your listeners, which is crazy, isn't it? Considering most people don't get to 3 episodes. Are people not using that as a strategy? Okay, if you haven't got a Spotify account set up yet, because a lot of people don't use Spotify, believe it or not. I love Spotify. It's my favorite thing. But if you have Spotify already, you'll just basically enter the email address that you use for Spotify. If you don't have Spotify set up yet, as you can see, I've got a temporary email address here ready to go. If you haven't used this before, temp-mail.org, really good little free tool for getting temporary email addresses for doing things like this, doing a demo. You'll basically put an email address in, sign up for a Spotify account, and then once you've done that, go back to creators.spotify and you'll have something that looks a little bit like new show. Add new show. Here we go. This is what it will look like. So you'll go to create a new show and follow the settings, and it will set up the RSS feed for you. You'll say where you want to connect it to. You'll connect it to Apple. You'll connect it to YouTube if you want to, and connect it to all the usual podcast places. So you'll set all of that up. And then once you've set it up, what you'll have is something that looks a little bit like this. Marketing strategy show. And if we go to the homepage of it, it'll give you kind of a checklist of things to do. So under episodes, you can click on new episode if you haven't got any episodes yet, and you'll be able to create one. And then it will look like this, where you've got episodes here. And essentially all we've done is put in the video, uploaded the file, which is a video, and then given it a title, a description, thumbnail, which is the thumbnail of the video, not the thumbnail of the podcast. The thumbnail of the podcast is this. I have got a Canva template that's got my podcast cover photos on that's going to be in today's downloadable that you can grab. And then basically you can add in things for every specific episode. So you can change the episode art for each episode. You can add in polls. There's various things you do. I don't do anything fancy. I just put a title in, I just put the description in, and I just leave the thumbnail with me looking slightly deranged and then publish it. And that's it, job done. I've been doing that for over a year and not putting that much thought and effort into it otherwise, and we've done well off of the back of the podcast. Like if I was to focus on it more, we'd do even better, but it's just one arm, so it's not a main stream for us. What I really love is things to be systemized. If they're systemized, we can keep up with them. The reason why people struggle to keep up with content creation is because there isn't a system for it. And what that means is that every week you've got loads of work you need to do to produce the next thing. So with a podcast, you've got to obviously edit that content, and then you need to upload it, and you need to create a description for it, and you need to do all the things. You want to have these steps written down in an SOP, and you want to keep it super simple. So instead of going to Google and searching for podcasters for Spotify or whatever it's bloody called, and having that as a step that you do every single time, just have the link to it in your SOP. You just click on it and it takes you straight there. Instead of creating a new caption each time to go with that podcast episode, you just want to use the same ChatGPT prompt every single time. You've got the call to action already sorted out. You've got these things there and they're ready to go, and it's just simple. And then it's just bam, 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 bam. So in terms of Descript, it gives you that really lovely transcript. So we can copy this transcript and we can just come over to ChatGPT and drop it in here. And then I've got a prompt here that I'm going to get for you on a different screen. It's very long. All of my prompts are really long. I will include it inside today's downloadable so that you can just use it. And it's going to create an output that we can use for the podcast description. Now I've got this, I'm going to grab that and come into the podcasting for Spotify, and I would paste it there. Now, what I'm going to do here is check the spacing and just make sure that this flipping massive gap that you could get a bus in isn't so big. And then come down and make sure that we get rid of this word episode framing, because like, why would you want that in there? It also makes me wonder, do we need to just try that again? No, why is episode framing at the bottom? Why is it pasted like that? We've got some weird formatting thing going on. It doesn't matter though, because we were just going to delete it and nothing else is in the wrong order. We also want to decide on a title, and then it's just literally a case of hitting next and then publishing. So every time you create a video, just know that that video can become a podcast episode. All you need to do is a light edit job, and then put a beat at the front, a beat at the end, and you just need to upload it. And if you look at some of the big creators like Gary Vaynerchuk, he's someone that's just creating content on the fly all the time. This is what he does. He goes and talks somewhere, he records himself talking, and he publishes it to podcast. The audio isn't amazing. It sounds quite echoey on some of his episodes, but he gets a lot of downloads and a lot of listens. And it's not about having the perfect content. It's about showing up regularly, having ways and means in which people can connect with you and connect with your content, and showing up on a regular basis in lots of different places so that people are building a relationship with you and your business and your brand, so that when it comes to them wanting to solve their problem that you are the expert in, you're the person that they're thinking of because you are present and showing up. Instead of just going live on Facebook and that's that. What else could you do with that Facebook Live? How could you turn that into a YouTube video, into a blog post, into a podcast episode? I really want you to be thinking about getting the absolute most out of the content you're already creating without having to go out and create more, because really and truly, we don't have much time available to us to just go and custom curate reels, blogs, YouTube videos. These things take time. So my recommendation to you will be, have a king of things. Have one stream of content that is video content, because that connects the most, and focus on that as your main piece of content. And then just off the back of that, use it to get everything else that you need.